So Human Fall Flat officially came out on the 22nd of July 2016. Now, you'd be obvious to make comparisons to Gang Beasts, because very similar protagonists. However, Bob does control very differently, whereas the Gang Beast characters are very violent and focused on combat, Bob is more about exploration and manoeuvring objects to solve the puzzles and problems that are around his environments. Now, the environments start off very simplistic with dreamscapes that have these remote controls hidden about that narrates the story in humorous ways, as well as give tips and advice on how to control Bob and manoeuvre around the world. Now, it's a shame that once you get past some of the initial areas, which are less open world than some of the later dreamscapes, that the remote controls and the humour seems to fade away quite a bit. I did expect that in the full release there would be more perhaps hidden remote controls that would be around to have the narrator tell some sort of humorous stories of how humans interact. And there are times when, if you're stuck on a puzzle, a remote control will fall out of the air, as if placed by God himself, Curve Digital, and give you a bit of advice. But again, this isn't narrated, it just appears on the actual object that you've got. For example, it will say to bash through the wall, because it may be that it's weaker than you actually suspect. That being said, though, the humour does still pertain through the game, and you can still have a lot of fun with the game, and there is replayability. I mean, with my first playthrough of the alpha, that took about 6 or 7 hours, and then after this, with the second playthrough, where I've gone through and found different paths and abused some major glitches and skipped puzzles, it still took about 5 hours to complete the full game, and this was skipping the entire castle level. I mean, I found major abuse to skip the entire castle level with the catapult. So, that is one of the things with human ingenuity. You can solve any problem if you put your mind to it. And that's the thing about the game. There is a lot of fun and a lot of options to go through the different levels. Sometimes it might seem a bit overwhelming, the amount of options that you've got to go through, especially if you want to sort of do everything in one run. But I'd advise not doing that. I'd advise perhaps replaying the level, just go through the path that you've gone through, and if there are other routes, maybe do that on another time, because that will extend the playability and the lifetime of the game the most. Because if you go and try to explore everything in the map in one go and do everything, sure, it'll make your run a bit longer, but I mean, it may ruin some of the replayability. That being said, though, there is planned expansion to allow you to create your own dreamscapes, which will be very ideal, and also expansion to change the adventure mode camera so that you can record similar to the early remote controls from a distance and record your own scenes. But at present, when you go into this adventure mode, it leaves Bob lying on the floor unconscious or dead, and that isn't really ideal to record anything, because while you've got control of it with the mouse, the camera, Bob, even if you use the controller, doesn't respond, and he doesn't respond to the spawn in a co-op character, because there is co-op. I mean, initially it was a bit more hidden, but by holding the two top triggers you can spawn in a new character or left and right mouse button and have two-player co-op on the game, and this could make for further abuse of some of the puzzles. Now, there are times where I've got some physics objects stuck, or just jumped with physics objects and done some super judo flips that clearly weren't intentional in the game, but with the true Gang Beast style, I mean, it adds to the fun. Sure, this doesn't get the Gang Beast level of spazzed out physics ghosts that go across the map killing everything, but Bob's got it. Bob's got more composure than that. Now, as I said, there are multiple ways to solve every solution to every puzzle, so if you think that you can do something out of the way, just crazy, use the wrong props to put buttons in, force doors open with things, there's a good chance that you can probably get it to work. I mean, even at times there are unconventional solutions that even the developers haven't thought of that you can use to abuse the things. In particular, climbing around the map seems to be quite a solution. Once you've got the hang of climbing and traversing with Bob, you can pretty much climb outside of the map and get around the level to some of the areas that weren't intended, and this could lead to some fairly major skips. And the game definitely encourages experimentation. I mean, there are even achievements for things like overloading the generators and just diving in a dumpster and rolling down the hill in it and having fun with that. So getting some of the achievements encourages additional fun. And if they do add the level designs, you can imagine that this would add to the Steam Workshop capabilities. But even without this, at £12 or $15 US, I think it's a good enough experience. I mean, you're getting at least, what, 6-7 hours? And maybe longer if you try and actually edit your own Bob skin. I mean, trying to use the camcorder with an Android camera to the computer for a webcam is not ideal, and that took at least 2 hours. Because not only did I have to try and compete with trying to record through the webcam to get a half reasonable picture that wasn't just completely black. I mean, still, it ended up really, really dark just because of the software and camera that I was using. But then you've got to try and actually edit Bob with paint and getting Bob to paint without painting on the other sides of the surfaces proves a very difficult challenge indeed. So to manoeuvre around Bob and get everything looking pristine does prove a rather time-consuming process. But you know, that was part of the fun I wanted with it as well. You know, I wanted my personal Bob. Now, this could have been made easier with a simple photo upload, but, you know, maybe this will happen in the future, because being able to upload your own photo and place it on the Bob mask would have made things a lot easier, and especially for adding logos and other things. And then this adds for meme ability. For example, if you have a Nicolas Cage meme face on Bob, you can imagine there will be a lot of people that would love to have a Nicolas Cage meme face jumping around these levels because it would add to the hilarity. And you can think of things like that. Maybe this will get added to the future, who knows? But, you know, even without that, you could use software to get around it. For example, I used the Android camera to take a picture of a picture on my PC screen, which you get a couple of moments lag, at least with the recording software I was using. I don't know if it's in the game lag. And, you know, if you've got your position ready over the pause, you click pause once it's on the position and before it changes back to the human full flat screen, and you can abuse the system then to incorporate your logo and paint around it to make it match the paint rather than have, you know, just a white border around it or whatever. So, you know, there are ways around doing these things, just very, very time consuming ways. There are also trading cards, like I say, and the achievements and, you know, the things that add even more value to the game. But even without all these, I would still say at £12, you know, it's a reasonable purchase for a full price purchase. And you can imagine Steam sales, this will go down with time. Over time, anything is affordable a price that you would be happy to pay. But, you know, I would still say at £12 it's a reasonable purchase. And yeah, if you like what you see, then definitely go buy the game, have fun with it, experiment with it. You'd get a lot more fun playing it yourself than just watching the videos. And by buying the games as well, it encourages the developer to make more games along these styles, and with it being such a unique experience, it would be fun to see more progression in the human fall flat sort of theme. For example, like I have suggested before, you know, having different character models that you could paint over, and, you know, different hats, different clothes perhaps that you could put on, or just more levels and a new game, and perhaps online multiplayer. I mean, here I'm stretching, this is very unlikely to go online multiplayer, but as it stands, you know, it's local co-op. It's currently not able to customise the second Bob, but I can imagine with demand this would happen in the future. But I mean, as it stands, you've got your Bob and then the ghost of Bob, which is just the plain white gang beast sort of Bob. But yeah, if you could perhaps then export to Gang Beasts and have your Bob be a Gang Beast character, or perhaps even you could create levels with the Human Fall Flat level designer and put that in Gang Beasts and have Gang Beast battles in the Bob arenas. These are, again, suggestions that could be implemented that aren't in there at present, but would add a lot of value to the game. I mean, this would turn it from a £12 game to maybe a £30 game if they had all of these features. But, you know, maybe Human Fall Flat 2, in collaboration with Gang Beasts, could come up with something truly spectacular where you've got the Gang Beasts levels that you could perhaps battle in, but also you could bob your way through with big levels for puzzles. And I could see room for collaboration between the two titles and how they could interact with each other. And, you know, this is just about Human Fall Flat, so go check out the game for yourself. Like I say, it's £12, it's not a bad purchase, and there are 8 levels that you can play on, and it definitely encourages you to play in a variety of different manners, because there are many different paths through the levels. So exploration, experimentation is definitely the key, and if you think outside of the box, and sometimes outside of the level, you can have even more fun with it. And yeah, you can break the levels entirely and just go completely where you're not intended to go. Even though it looks like it may be a path, but I mean, yeah, catapulting yourself over that cliff right to the exit is probably not intentional for the castle level. But hey, you know, if you go back and then play through the level and explore the different parts of the levels that you didn't actually go through in the first place, then that's replayability and you have a lot of fun with it. So, you know, I've had a lot of fun with it, and I would definitely recommend that you go purchase the game for yourself and have some fun with it. And when there are the creativity capabilities to make your own levels and your own scenes, there's a hell of a lot that you can do with this game, so I would definitely recommend purchase. And by buying it, you show the developers you like it, you give them funds to make the new game, so, you know, encourage your developers. And they are working on the console version at present, so there will be console versions coming out in the future. So definitely support your developers, go buy the game, encourage them to make sequels and more things, and perhaps even DLC just for the game, you know, maybe more levels, more characters. So I would definitely recommend you go buy it now. Thanks for watching.